This is right. We're good. Are we good? We are good to go. Good morning and welcome to another Lord's Day here at Berkshire County Church of Christ. And there's the Rodriguez family. They were like charter members, I suppose, because they were here even before we came. But then they left to Tennessee. And they're back to visit us this morning. So we are thankful to have them back here. Matt and Maria are obviously out of town. Maria, more people leaving. They're going to go live in Florida. So, quickly, as you know, I'm going to speak to the South African family quickly. So I'll be speaking a different language. So in some sense, I'll be talking in tongues. Tannie Ria en Toinet, ek weet nie of julle kyk nie. Abel, Elise, ek weet julle kyk en almal wat daar saam met julle is in Suid-Afrika is maar saam is. Ons is bly julle is saam met ons vandag. En dit sal 'n bietjie verskillend wees vandag want ek is 'n bietjie kwaad en ek het die hele gesprek verander. Diens verander. So julle sal maar hoor. Okay, I was just inviting them in, telling them that what I will tell you as well is that yesterday morning I told my wife I'd finished, supposed to be part number 2 of Parable of the Sower. Thank you, Melinda. But after some events that occurred this week, yesterday morning I said to Melinda about 10 o'clock, I'm changing the sermon, and then I changed it a couple of hours, and then she had to go and change all the everything. So I do thank my wife. She is a big help here. The sermon title is this morning, Our Silence is Shameful. And I will tell you something, I am mad this morning. I was mad yesterday. What absolute rubbish did we not see on television this week? What absolute rubbish did the world not have to watch with the opening ceremony of the Paris Olympics? Now, I'm just going to tell you straight up, okay, I've never been a fan of Paris, of France, okay, I just never have been. They are just different people, but what they managed to do, for those of you that don't know, you're going to see it just now. I will tell you when to change, Mom. Yeah. Did any of you watch the opening ceremony? Anybody watch? Did any of you know what I'm talking about? Okay, I'm pretty sure most of you do. But what a disgrace that was. However, that is an indication of the state of the world and the apathetic attitude of Christians. And let me say that it's the state of the world and a reflection of our attitude. Christians. Every single believer should boycott watching the Olympics entirely. The message that we will not tolerate such licentious, devil-dedicated drivel should be clearly sent to the world. But that's not going to happen. See, people already have made excuses. You can't find the video on most official sites anymore because they've actually asked for it to be taken down. But of course, the internet, people have copied it and you will see it for a long time still. However, we don't stand up to our beliefs. Somebody said yesterday that you know who France never would have done this to? Islam. True. You know who they wouldn't have done it to? Hinduism. True. Because if they did it to Islam and Hindu, there'd be riots. Now, we don't riot. Don't get me wrong. Not condoning any kind of violence. But they wouldn't do it to those people because of what would happen if they did. We spew nonsense like, well, it's typical of France. I'm one of them. Or, I don't agree with it, but I will support our athletes. And absolutely, we should support the athletes. However, what you don't know, and I will briefly touch on that as cleanly as I can, is even worse than you think. And I will not even our most dedicated athletes, I will not be watching 1 minute of it, and neither should you. I've never done this before. Not yet, I'll tell you when. But let me show you what I'm speaking of. And this will shock you, and I hope it does. And I'll apologize to God beforehand for bringing this rubbish into his house. But I think we need to be shocked out of our spiritual apathy. If you didn't see it, that is a depiction, a transgender depiction of the holy sacrament of the Last Supper. Now I want you to bear this guy in mind here. I just want you to think, just bear in mind, because he's going to come up later again. Okay, where's the next one? There's the beheading of Mary Antoinette. There's Jesus, by the way. Jesus is the person on the left side. And then the guy on the right side is some Hindu god of some kind. But that's it. He got up and he danced. Now I'm not going to go more into detail than this because there's a lot of kids here. But that gentleman I showed you was doing things that were absolutely not proper. So, no, that's fine. Yeah, skip it past. We don't need them more. So have you ever seen anything so dastardly, or anything so woke, or anything so evil, anything so anti-God? They made a point. They wanted us to see that they would smear it in our faces. They could listen. If you want to be transgender and you want to do those things, and you want to, and France wants to do it, that's France's right. But what France doesn't have the right to do is to attack a specific religious group. But that's what happens when Christians don't stand up. Again, I'm going to say this a lot of times today. I'm not condoning violence. But it's what happens when we don't stand up against anything wrong. When we give a little, and then we give a little more, and then we've given a lot of our morals so that we can live in peace. It's one thing when we allow people to live any way they choose, and we should, whether we agree with it or not. That person's got a right to do whatever they want to do. We don't have to agree with it. And we can speak against it, but they have the right to be that way. They will face Christ on Judgment Day. But there's another thing when we support that idiocy, when we support that licentious behavior by our inactions or our inability to say anything, either from the pulpit, and I guarantee you that will not be said to a lot of places today. But I praise any minister who is saying it today. Any person who's a Christian who is saying enough. They showed videos of people in France going, because they could not believe that their own country was doing that. This is where the world has come to. You should be incensed. You should be angry that we've reached the point where transgenders and gays are allowed to depict one of the most Christian, holy events of all, which is the Last Supper. At what point do we say enough is enough as Christians? It's one thing for you to choose the way you want to choose. It's one thing for you to choose your lifestyle. That's between you and God. And I will concede that you have the right to do that. But it's another thing to steal our Christian events and to smear your lifestyle all over it. But here's the thing. Woe to any Christian who supports that madness. You can say they can do what they want to do, but you cannot as a Christian say that they have the right to besmear the Last Supper. Now we know the image is an image, okay? It's not what the Last Supper looked like. That's done on whatever his name was. Who's the guy that did it? Leonardo da Vinci. It's not the way it looked at all. But it's a fact they were smearing in our faces. And they weren't just saying, no, support us and whatever. They were saying, you guys. Of course, those actions did not suddenly appear. It's not the first time we've seen it. We allowed them to take prayer out of our schools, said nothing. We allowed them to take 10 commandments out of our courthouses and said nothing. We allowed them to change Easter to a Pride Day, and we said nothing. And we allowed them to take the rainbow, the symbol of a promise by God to mankind, and use it for their anti-Christian lifestyles. And we said nothing, because we don't want to make waves. They allow drag shows into schools and libraries, and we do nothing about it. They allow pride participants to walk around our biggest cities naked in front of kids, and we say nothing about it. They allow sex-filled books into our schools and libraries, and we say nothing about it. They allow children to decide what sex they want to be and keep it away from their parents, and we say nothing about it. And then we allow them to indoctrinate our children in our schools, our colleges and universities, and we say nothing about it. Because we want to live in peace. We secretly lament the state of the world. We speak about it to friends and family, but we still allow our children to watch devil's programs on television and social media, where alternative lifestyles are celebrated and where abortion is treated like a choice instead of murder, and children can be cats, dogs, and even unicorns. We have schools that have Kit Kat litter boxes so kids can feel comfortable. We even openly bemoan, and I want to make this before I say this is not a political statement. You can support whoever you want. This is just a statement based on what happened. That's all. We even bemoan the fact that an evil actor could not shoot straight. This is where we've come to in the world. Dislike him. Vote for Kamala or Joe Biden or Bobby Kennedy or whatever his name is, or vote for Trump. I don't care. But when we get to a point where we actually are sorry that someone wasn't murdered, that's where we are in the world. When we can watch these things on TV and go, that's just them. That's just them being who they are. That's crazy. We should be appalled and disgusted when the world mocks God. But instead, you know what we do? We fear. We recoil in fear. In fear we hide our faces and our faith. Our faces and our faith. For fear of persecution. For in fear we recoil. In fear we hide our faces. In fear of persecution. But here's a fact. An absolute God-given fact. Galatians 6:7. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever one sows, that will he also reap. We said that in the reading scripture this morning. For those who took part in it and for those who supported, the words of Galatians 6:7 should send a chill down their spines, because they mocked God. And if you supported that, you mocked God. You mocked my God with your idiocy, and in doing so, you, the people there, are sowing the seeds of your own demise. And hear me when I tell you, I will never take physical action. I do not condone violence for the 5th time. But I am not your problem. He is. And what you've done, he will take retribution on. If you want to open the wrath of God, then open it. If you want to experience it, whether in this lifetime or the eternity that comes after. Believe in God or don't. If you don't want to believe in God, don't. But here's a news flash. Whether you do or don't. 2 Corinthians 5:10. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ. All of us. Bar none. You're not going to go, I don't believe in you. And they're going to go, oh, okay, you don't have to appear before the judgment seat of Christ. This is only for believers. Everybody will. So that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. All of us will stand before him who sits on the throne of judgment. And every knee will bow. And I've said it before, I want to see that. I want to see every living creature ever human bow their knees, because you won't want to, you will. And that would be something to see. Billions of people bowing to the power and authority of the Son of God. You will not escape his judgment or his wrath on that day. Maybe even before then. As for Christians, and here's where we become involved. How idiotic of us to think that we do not support their actions by our inaction. How idiotic of us to think we're not supporting their voices by our silence. We should never lift our hands in anger to another person. That is taught in the Bible. That is what I teach in the pulpit. But we have other ways of peaceable protest. And we should not be cowardly in the face of anti-Christian behavior. You can speak with your wallet. And you can refuse to watch evil. If we do not watch, if all Christians, all the believers, Christians and believers in the world today did not watch, that would be a failure. And it would send a clear message that we would not do it. But I know that's not going to happen. There's a company, I don't know what the company is. It's in the South. I want to say it's Tennessee or Kentucky, I'm not sure. That has actually withdrawn their sponsorship. Entirely. Because of what happened. That company, I don't know what they do, but I want to find them because whatever they sell, I want to buy. Because I want to support a company that literally stands behind God and says, if this is what you will do, I will no longer send my money to you. Praise them for their good behavior. And praise God that there are people who stand on their faith. I will not watch. I will not stand by idly when God is mocked. And I know athletes had nothing to do with it. But as long as we watch, we support the country that did it. And the people of the country that did it. And not everyone in the country did. But that message has to be said. Let me ask you something. And this is in my family. We just had this discussion. Let's take us a little bit further. Do you have a Disney Plus subscription? Most people do. Why? We get Disney Plus subscription, we throw it on a tablet and give it to a child and say, be quiet and watch Disney. But Disney isn't what it was when I grew up. Every single day, Disney now has transgender parades. And they support the whole movement. And you say, well, that's not me. It is you. You are supplying the money to the company who's doing exactly what is against your faith to do. We don't have Disney anymore. But it goes more than that. That company openly supports your child having free sex before marriage and everything else, the abortions and everything else. Transgenderism, everything. Everything you don't stand for, they stand for. And you keep giving your $9 or $10 or $14 a month to them, you and millions of other Christians, so that they can actually make money to support these people even more. Do you still buy from Target, even though they sold tuck-in children's clothes, bathing suits last year? Oh, they changed. They didn't change, people. They just took the tuck-in bathers out of their stores. But we still shop at Target because it's close and it's cooler than shopping at Walmart because we got money. So we want people to know we don't shop at Walmart, we shop at Target. You shop at Target, that's between you and God. Should we shop at Target? Target stepped away from it. If you believe that, shop there. But you better believe it. Do you still buy Balenciaga? I don't. I never did. Because I can't spend $300 on a child's outfit. But Balenciaga, one of the greatest or most famous clothing places in the world, used product images of child bondage. But they're still in stores. And I bet you Christians walk in there and buy things so their kids can feel cool in Balenciaga clothes. We complain and do nothing. Or we half-heartedly complain and then soon we go back to being normal. That's the tragedy of the human condition. Remember 9/11? When churches couldn't keep up with the people coming in. And then after a few months, people stopped coming. We like that in the world. We stand firm, but we're not that firm, we just stand. We're not firm, we just stand against it. And then as soon as the things wear off, we just go back to what makes us comfortable. And we use the excuse that we're not supporting them. We don't believe in them. And I'm going to step on every young girl now. One of my pet peeves in life is Taylor Swift. Because Taylor Swift is a cult. She's not a singer. These people live and breathe her. They will do things. They will walk 100 miles to go see a concert. They stole money, kids, to go see that concert. They live and breathe. They can sing every tune of a Taylor Swift song, but they cannot tell you 2 scriptures. I was just telling my wife on the way to church this morning, I think. If kids could learn scriptures like they could learn Taylor Swift songs, the church would be pretty strong. They can recite those songs like nothing. I still, in my whole life, I kid you not, do not know one complete song in my entire life. I've never known a complete song. Just don't care enough about them. And that was before I was even a Christian. I don't support them. I listen to their music if I can do it for free. Well, I would have. We live our lives in an unspiritual world. We know that. Here's the scripture. 2 Timothy 3, 1 through 4. But understand this, that in the last days where we live now, there will come times of difficulty. For people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Did you see that over there? Do you see that in the world today? The world loves itself. The world loves money. The world loves pleasure. It's conceited. It loves itself. But it does not love the Creator who gave them everything they have. Love themselves, but don't love the Creator God. If we are ever in doubt about that verse, the opening show of the Paris Olympics should successfully remove any doubt from your mind. But why do we allow it? And I thought about it in the sermon. Why do we allow it? We know it's wrong. We know what they did is wrong. So why do we still allow it? Why do we not speak up? On our Facebook and on our... Well, we don't want to get attacked. But here's two reasons. Firstly, we are more afraid of people than of God. Hear me. We are more afraid of people than we are of God. We say God's all powerful. We even recite Hebrews 13:6. So we can confidently say, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me? We recite that. The Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me? But at the end of the day, we're just fraidy cats because we're afraid of what man can do to us. We preach it here. We sit here and we're faithful and righteous and pious and sit here and do everything we should do. But then when we go out, we act exactly opposite to what we act in here. Because we don't want the world to know. We hide our faith and our faces from the world in fear of persecution. We cower and shiver at the perceived might of Satan. And we don't cower in fear of the Creator God of the universe. We're more afraid of them than we are of Him. Where's our confidence? Where's our belief and where's our trust? If your belief and trust is in God, you don't care what they think. I don't care. I don't care if they persecute me. I don't care if they stand and they have their little placards and things right outside this church. I'll still have this service as we normally do. I will not cower in fear of any man. And I will not remain still in the face of what man does. What will we say on Judgment Day when our turn arrives to answer for our inaction? When Jesus says, why did you never speak up? Proverbs 29:25. The fear of man lays a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is safe. The fear of man lays a snare. In other words, when you fear man, you walk into the trap of Satan. But whoever trusts God, I'm worried. I'll walk into the danger now so I can live forever one day in heaven and not live forever one day in hell. It's really trying to not have that second option. That verse highlights the trap that human beings' opinions can set for us. Stop being afraid of them. We are overly concerned with what others think. And when we are, we can be led to compromise our own religious values, our own faith. We miss the power of God for the fear of man. So we skulk around, like we creep around, too afraid to make waves, pretending that being silent, we call it humility, is the way we should be. You should be humble. And you shouldn't be violent. But you can speak with your mouth. You can speak against it. You can put on your Facebook that you're against it. You can put on your Instagram. You can put on any media. You can stop supporting the people who are trying to take your kids and kill them. Spiritually, kill them. You can stop supporting the people who are telling your kids it's okay for them to do what they want to do when they're not even old enough to decide what they want to do or what they can do. There's no 4 or 5-year-old that knows what it wants to do or what it wants to be. And before I forget, those of you that watched it, did you see the pale rider? They had a pale rider. Revelation chapter 4. For those of you that are here, we'll be doing that on Wednesday. That actually happens to be when we're going to do Revelation chapter 4. The pale rider is the rider of death. I saw when I was doing the preparation as quickly as I had to do it, I saw a guy, African American guy, that was just brilliant. He said this: I want you to know that in future, if you see that table of people, you are not in heaven. I want you to know that if you see those table of people, you are not in heaven. Now, any one of them before the day they die, and I pray they will. I pray for them, and that's the difference between me and them. I pray that they will find the light. I pray that they will come to their senses. I pray that they will give their hearts to God. They'll be baptized into Christ, and they will go and enjoy the bliss, the pure bliss of heaven forever at the feet of God the Father. But if they don't, and you see them, means you aren't there either. How misled and misguided are we to think that the devil is more powerful than the God? Matthew 10:28. Here it is. And do not fear those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy. Notice it doesn't say kill. Destroy in Greek, utterly remove. Destroy both soul and body in hell. What did we say hell was? Absence of God. That's hell. I don't care whether hell's a fiery pit, truly or not. I know what it is. It's absence of God. And I don't want the absence of God. Because we see what the absence of God here on earth is, which isn't going to even compare in any way. But look what's happening to the world today. It's just destroying itself. Imagine if it was entirely vanished. Man can do nothing more than kill you. He can do nothing more than call you insults. How many of us have been insulted? I've been insulted in this town more than once because of my belief. I've lost friends. I've lost family members because of my belief. Good, go. I prayed for you, but I will not stay with you. Maybe because we cannot see God or grasp His reality. Maybe in some way we can see the fool standing before us. So we're more afraid of the pain that we could feel now, because that's physical, real right now, than we are of God, whose pain will come in the future. But it will make whatever you experience here nothing. The pleasure that man gives us for being with Him, the pleasure you have for supporting this licentious lifestyle, a reward, a smile, a hug, an agreement, living in peace, as long as you do everything they want, which won't be peaceable for you. But all that disappears. All that disappears when you die. No matter what you have on earth, from earth, will disappear. But the reward from God is forever. And it's at His feet. And it's where there's no pain, no suffering, not anything. I fear for the world today because there's no way that God is watching man and He's not incensed by what He sees. He's mad. We think that Islam is not a threat. We say Islam's not a threat. But hear me when I tell you, if God wants Europe to go under the control of Islam, to teach them something like He did to His own people, His chosen race, for 400 years in Egypt, then He will do that. And if you don't think that's happening, look at what's happening in the streets of Paris and in the streets of London, where there are thousands, tens of thousands of Muslims stopping traffic and praying to Allah in the middle of traffic, stopping at a whole city where people are getting raped and beaten, and all these women who claim that God is bad and Jesus is bad and nothing, and they go and shout for all these crazy people in the world, Islamic people. Know that when they come into power, you won't be in school. You won't drive a car. You will wear something that only your eyes stick out of, and your husband can kill you by the witness of one other man that you committed adultery, even if you didn't. You will have no rights. And if you are transgender, and if you are gay, and if you are alternative, and if you think you are kitten, they will throw you off the top of the buildings. And if you don't think, look it up, because that's what they are doing. They are killing people who think that way. And they don't hide it, they say it. This is what happens to disobedience. 2 Kings 17, 15 through 20. They despised his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers and their warnings that he gave them. They went after false idols and became false. And they followed the nations that were around them, concerning whom the Lord had commanded them that they should not do like them. And they abandoned all the commandments of the Lord their God, and they made for themselves metal images of 2 calves. And they made an Asherah and worshipped all the host of heaven and served Baal. And they burnt their sons and their daughters as offerings and used divination and omens. And sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord. Sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight. None was left but the tribe of Judah only. But Judah also did not keep the commandments of the Lord their God, but walked in the customs that Israel had introduced. And the Lord rejected all the descendants of Israel and afflicted them and gave them into the hands of plunderers until he had cast them out of his sight. Hear those words. He took his own nation that he had chosen and gave them to the plunderers. And if you think he will not do that to us, you are delusional, or have never read the Bible, or do not understand the Lord your God properly. He will not tolerate our disobedience. And if you think it only happens in Israel, I mean in France, you haven't been looking around. It probably started here and went there. No one is beyond the wrath of God. Play with the devil and you will become his child. Not his child. Play with the devil and you will become his slave. Listen to God and you become his child. We're closing. We need to proudly stand up and claim who we are. Not here. Romans 1:16, 17. I'm not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of salvation. Everyone who believes, to the Greek first, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. I'm not ashamed of the gospel. I will not be ashamed of when I walk out that door today. I will wear it. And if you wanna persecute me for it, go ahead. I'm not afraid of man. I'm fearful of God in a good, respectful way. Any man and any woman can choose who they want to be. That's their God-given right. Be transgender, be gay, be a cat, be a dog. I mean, you are. You can pretend you are. But what you cannot be is mocking of God. Because God will not tolerate that. God's not going to tolerate your lifestyle either. You will answer for it one day. But while you're here on earth, I pray that God will punish them. Not because I'm being angry. I pray that God will punish them so they will turn and see that He is a God of almighty power. Because unless He does that, these people aren't ever going to change. But remember we said in Bible class, harden hearts. When He hardens your heart, means He moves away from you. Means that you will not see it. These people, no matter what you tell them, no matter how much you study with them, no matter how much you show them, they will never believe. Because He has moved Himself from their sight. We should only pray that we aren't ever there where He does that to us. I don't believe we will. But we make sure we don't. Amen? If you are subject to the invitation this morning, we ask you to come forward. And if you are anything on your mind that you want us to pray for, please come forward as well. And if you're online and you want us to do anything for that, let us know and we will